Finally, it rises.
Hey, it's ODB, the Lincoln Addict, back with another video. This time, if you saw the thumbnail, I'm actually going to review this 66 Lincoln Continental Sedan. But first, I do want to give a quick update. I have missed a couple of these Lincolns. In comparison, a 67 Sedan recently sold for $25,000 on July 30th. And of course, you had July 31st, a 66 black convertible sold for about double that price at $51,000. But here was the quick update I wanted to give. This 26-year-old 65, I had guessed that it was going to go, I think my number was up to like 50, 55-ish. It blew through that, and there were two folks that were bidding on this one, which is what any seller really wants, down kind of to the end, and it really jumped up. This 65 Lincoln Continental convertible in black, red interior, sold for $67,000. So a very strong price, I think. Still a good buy overall, but it definitely went a little bit higher than I anticipated. Let's jump in with this 66 Lincoln Continental Sedan. This is currently at $500. It just went live. I think it was one day prior to the recording of this video. This one's going to have a little bit of curb appeal, I think, to a lot of people. And here's the big thing. Oftentimes, I'll give you a recent example. Yesterday, I posted a Lincoln and I said there were subtle updates on it. And at the time that I did a video on a Lincoln via social media, the gentleman had aftermarket wheels on it. And someone said, oh, that's not very subtle. Well, sure, we could probably all agree that the wheels on any vehicle can kind of make or break, right? Especially in the custom world. But hear me out. If you like this car and you end up purchasing it, and for whatever reason you want the stock wheels and wheel covers, aka hubcaps, on it, that's kind of a subtle change. It's going to take you, 30 minutes or less, possibly, to remove the wheels and put on the factory wheels. Of course, if they're included with this purchase. So again, I think the curb appeal here is you've got an old school classic that a lot of people want, with, a little bit of a custom look, and that's what I think you're going to get here. So let's dive in. You basically have 20-inch smoothie style wheels, as they mentioned here. They don't look like Detroit wheels. They look similar, but I think they're a different brand, if that makes sense. You do have an Edelbrock carburetor, which is kind of a tasteful update. That's, of course, under the air cleaner, and typically you're not even going to be able to see if it's a stock carb, if you will, on the car. It does have some LED lighting. The seller acquired this vehicle just about a couple of months ago, right? 4 months ago. And the cooling, braking, power steering systems were overhauled. So, someone purchased this car. The owner chimed in. He actually gave me some credit. I think he watched one of my past videos about vapor lock, and he said that helped him as well. Of course, they're in California with this car. This is Empress turquoise metal, I believe is how you say it. And the refinish was done. It's listed here about a year ago. So any place depending on where you're at in the United States, a paint job is not cheap. So, you kind of factor that into this buy, and I think that's a good update on this car. If we continue, you've got, again, the 20-inch smoothie style wheels. You've got a 245/40. So yes, a low profile tire. Some are going to love that. Some aren't. That's just the way it goes. What you have, to me, on this interior is a little bit different of a look. Typically we're used to seeing the normal leather seats. There were different options, especially in 66 and 67. But I think overall this interior looks very nice. You've got this custom console. There's a few different players out there that are building these, especially for the Lincoln guys, if you will. Chino and Sons is one. This could possibly be theirs. But you've got these custom kick panels as well. I think in my 67 it had speakers in the kick panels, but these are certainly, from what I can tell, these are definitely aftermarket, and they look good overall. You've got also the unique color of the interior. So many folks will chime in on my post and say, wow, I miss the colors of the 60s, right? The exteriors, and of course here the interior. This houses bench seating, of course, upholstered in aqua, and then they kind of give a little bit more information there. You do have a Bluetooth compatible sound system, so that's fantastic. So many of us aren't carrying CDs and cassettes anymore, so it is nice to be able to Bluetooth from your phone. They talk about the steering wheel, the 120-mile speedometer. This is showing 72,500, which is probably accurate. And the current owner has driven it about 500 miles in the last 4 months, give or take. So you can see here a lot of this stuff has been done, and this is good to take inventory, even if this isn't, quote, your car or the car that you're looking to bid. I often talk about these cars often need something, right? Oftentimes they need everything. But if you can look at what this gentleman did 4 months ago buying this car, there's a lot of stuff here. And you go, oh, well, that's no big deal. If you're hands-on, sure, maybe you could do all this. But certainly if you're paying someone to do it and you're looking to buy the parts and things like that, it can certainly add up. I like this photo here. We get that low stance of the rear bumper. Typically these rear bumpers will have a little bit of surface rust kind of in here. I know my 67 did. And then down here, they're usually not perfect, but this one looks really, really nice, better than most that I've seen for 66 and up. We see here, I love that Bring a Trailer has this door tag, if you will, because it gives us the insight and I don't have to break it down, which is fantastic, which is another reason why I love BAT, which is short for Bring a Trailer. You've got 53A, the four-door sedan, basically aqua upholstery. The date on this one would have been November 19th. So the L is the indication for November. Again, someone reinforced to me, and if you look in the service manual or the book, right, the thicker book for these year cars, they did not use the letter I. So that's how we get to L for November, and then 19 is the day of the month. So this would have been November 19th of 1965. I know that sometimes confuses folks, but you got to remember they started building the 66 model year in kind of August, September, if you will, of the previous year. So, in the first 6 months or less of that model year. What we're going to see here is definitely some good photos. I'm going to have to zoom out here a little bit. And again, you've got a curb appeal that's going to appeal to a lot of folks. There's going to be other people that don't like the wheels, and that's totally understandable. Again, it's yin yang, Florida versus Florida State, red versus blue. There's always going to be a debate on these type of things. Now, I will tell you in 66, my friend Tony Bolin and I often talk about there's a few things I do like in 66. You've got 2 less bars on the grill. So to me, the grill just seems a little bit more classy with the less bars. You also have the fender star here, the Lincoln Star on the front fender, both sides, of course, and that is an easy tell. Of course, someone could have slapped these on a 67, but for the most part, if you see this, it's a 66, and the grill will look a little bit less congested because there's a couple less bars on it. So that's a good thing. But what we also see here is the front bumpers look good. I like to look at the spacing in here, indexing, whatever you want to call it. And, with these kind of being land yachts, if you will, oftentimes these bumpers have kind of been bumped and things like that. But if you look at the overall appearance of the front bumper, it looks really, really good, which I think is great. It does look like the headlights were upgraded. I believe they mentioned LED lighting, so that's a great thing. It may not be your cup of tea, but I can tell you I have a car with upgraded lighting and without, and driving anytime in the evening time with upgraded lighting is definitely a good thing. I'm in my 40s and I have really good eyesight, and I can tell you it's fantastic to have the upgraded lighting. Another thing that I love in 66 and up is you have on the trunk, of course, not the convertible, but on the sedan, this flips up, and then you've got the keyhole behind it. Of course, there were some differences 61 through 65, of course, throughout those different years, but I really like this in 66 and up. I think from the back, again, you've got the slim white wall tire. The chrome looks really nice on this bumper, whether it was redone. I don't think it mentions that, but certainly I think it looks good. To me, the paint looks good on it. There's a lot going for this car, I think, from an appeal perspective. And the good thing is, like I said, changing the wheels is something that, it's like you buy a house, you may not like the color of the walls. No big deal, paint them, or in many people's cases, they just pay someone else to paint their walls, right? You could see maybe a little blemish here. It's hard to tell if that's just a reflection. It's hard to find one of these cars with no imperfections. And there's probably a few little things here, even though I gave kudos to this front bumper. It does look better than most that I've seen. So that's a good thing. Also in 66, I haven't really talked a lot about the exterior aesthetics of this, but you've got all this trim that comes around here, around that front, body panels, and then you've got the word Continental all spelled out. You'll sometimes see missing letters, and these letters are getting hard to find. Certainly people will pay a good amount just for one letter. So seeing all of that there is a fantastic thing, in my opinion. You've got the California plate based upon where this car is at now. This is a good place to look because I owned a 67 and it had the vinyl top, which I'm not a fan of. And depending on where these cars are at and how they're treated in the winter, you can sometimes see, especially if it's a vinyl roof car, you'll see a lot or feel underneath that vinyl where water has sat in here and things like this. But when you look at this car, wow. It does look nice. It looks like whoever did the paint and body on it really kind of dialed it in, which is fantastic. Now, the disclaimer that I always give is we're only looking at photos. If you can have someone look at a car for you, or you can fly out and look, certainly that's what I always recommend. I was looking here at the dash earlier. Again, typically in 66, I've said this before, you usually don't end up with the big crack here. 67, the dash changes a little bit. It goes more up closer to the windshield, and you will sometimes see a crack more in 67. But this little speaker grill, if you will sometimes see a little tear right here, which we kind of see. You can get the dash pad redone. There's a couple of companies depending on how much you want to spend, but that's just a minor imperfection, I think, in the grand scheme of things. You can also see the LED lighting. This is a fun little update that a lot of guys will kind of do, and it definitely gives a different ambiance, and it makes it a lot easier to see versus the incandescent bulbs within the car. Just kind of going through here, you see this the odometer there. This speedometer is pretty cool. You get to a certain mile per hour, I think it's 70 or 75, 80, and it turns to orange. So that's kind of a cool thing. I haven't really talked a lot about that. So I'm just going through here, and this is kind of a cool thing. So you've got a finished trunk, but you also have a fifth wheel that you do not always see in the custom car world. So this person has spent the extra money to say, hey, I don't want to just buy 5 wheels. I also want to get the spare. Also going to spend the extra money and get the spare tire. And to me, it looks really nice in here. Now, you might be asking, well, what if I want to change the wheels? You could always either leave this here. You could take it to a local kind of custom upholstery shop and maybe put something different in here if you really wanted to change it. But hear me out. I know this may not be your cup of tea, but a lot of these cars don't look nice in the trunk. You know, folks, if you just have a regular driver, most people don't really care what the trunk looks like. If you buy this car, to me, you're getting a finished car front to back. So the trunk looks good. It matches the interior of the car. Of course, whether he lets the Raddy's little sign go or not, you could always have your own little item made, and I think it looks good. We can see here the valve covers do have some custom paint work on it, which is a nice little dress up. We can see it does have the battery tray. These are getting kind of rare. A lot of people take these out, but it is nice that the battery tray is there. And you will rarely ever see, we call it a unicorn part, the battery hold down. It's not really a necessity, and that's why they're often tossed. But you'll see them even in new cars, and they haven't changed much in the Fords. But this battery obviously isn't going anywhere, but it is nice that it does have the battery kind of tray there, if you will. We do see it has the dual master cylinder, so part of that upgrade, which was key. And then in 66, when they go to a 462, which they used a 430 from 58 to 65, with the 462, you have this piece that's mounted up here, and that's nice because it's really tough to get to in the earlier year Lincoln. So that's fantastic. The coil, if you will. We can see it is an AC car as well. It's got the original York style compressor, which is fantastic. I do believe they said that there was AC work that was done. The good news is if the AC is there, that's a fantastic thing. Even if you had challenges, most mechanic shops, even on these Lincolns, can get the air conditioning working for the most part. Now, I will tell you, I do believe this car will easily shoot past what we saw here. So if I go back where I kind of started and we go 67, which is a very similar car, no star, a little bit different on the grill. There's a few subtle changes, especially the interior. This car went for $25,000. I really truly believe this car that we just looked at will go for more than that. We've seen some very strong sedan prices, especially with 66 and up. If I were to have to pick a 66 through 67, one of the two, I would always go now at this point in my Lincoln career with a 66. I just like them a little bit better. I think the paint looks good. I think there's some value adds that we do not always see from these type of listings. Again, the wheels are a great thing, and you can always change them. The owner also chimed in. He has been active, so thanks for the kind words. He also said he's going to be throwing in a car cover that he bought when he picked up the car because he was unsure if it was going to fit in his garage, and the cover is still unopened. So, you could price that out, and those go for anywhere from $100 to, $500 to $1,000, depending on the make of that particular cover. So yeah, it's at $500 now. I will say easily over $25,000 in my opinion. It's hard to say, but my gut feeling is it's going to go for $30,000 to $42,000. I hope that it goes more. Let me know what you think in the comments. Yes, sedan prices have certainly went up, and if you're looking to get into the Lincoln game, this certainly might be a car for you. Take care and best of luck to the seller. Stay on the rise, everyone.